Okay, so there was a post on the ImageLine forum about formula controller and how it's like really difficult, but I wanted to I should add a limiter on this. I wanted to explain that it's actually pretty easy to use formula controller, and there's a ton of ways you can use it. So what is formula controller? It's like this thing. It lets you input a, like, I'm not sure if it would be considered, what's a trigonomic periodic function. Anyway, basically it lets you control like the time and spacing of a control, and it's like 3 inputs that you have. So this one was like for a triangle, like LFO sort of thing. And you can do lots of other ones. How it works, how you like form the syntax, or like that, what like form it has to be in, and how to actually get a formula that compiles. So you don't actually need to program it a whole lot. It's not like it can't take like branch chains or special variables or loop structures or if-else blocks and specific operators that are known as ternary operators, which you would have in a normal programming language. So this is much more simplified than a programming structure, which I'm not sure if things like VFX scripting are like the next level to this type of thing. So this is pretty basic. And I would guess to understand what you're seeing, having like functions like grade 11 functions or grade 12 functions. I think that even calculus's level math is way up there. This is more of like a functions and operations type, not even operations, but more of a functions thing, I guess. This is what you get when you were learning how to use a calculator, basically, to map certain functions or like shapes and forms. So it uses only 3 inputs, the A, B, C here. So these knobs relate to the quantity of the like, you know how it's like plus or multiplied, so on and so forth, by the value A or by the value B or by the value C. It basically just lets you have that variable as, and that basically it draws the well, I don't want to say shape, but it draws the function. If there's a better word for this, it draws the line. It draws the shape of the line. So you have to have it within 0 to 1. So this is 0.22, this is 0.8, this is 0.7. Yeah. And then that's basically it. So as long as it's like defined in a output, like as long as it's formatted properly, it should compile. And then you can also use SongTime as a value. You can use pi as a value. And so pi is useful for trigonomic type functions, which creates like LFOs and stuff like that. Okay, so I thought I'd quickly explain what each of the things does. So starting from sine x, it's essentially a sine wave generator. So I'm not sure if I can like, okay, let's see an example here. Just okay, so this is like a periodic sine wave. It's like an LFO. It can be used for vibrato, which is sort of is doing. You could extend the time. Anyway, you could extend the time. There's not ABC functions on this, but you could extend the time and it would be like more of a sweep sound. Anyway, and then you have cos x, which is used for cosine, which is used for like phase shifting. So it's an offset, I believe, is essentially what it is an offset. So I'm not sure how different it really is. Yeah, so I think it's basic. It's cosine. So it's basically an offset modulation. I'm not sure where it would actually be usable, but in a larger formula, it may make a lot more sense. And these are like non-value. There's no ABC variables in these. That's just the function. So that's why I can't like control it. And then you have tan x, which is used for like distortion or rough modulation. I'm not sure what this is going to do. Okay, and then absolute value, which is the ABS. It can be used for bipolar waves. So again, it's shapes. Okay, so the floor function is to step down. So it can be used for creating saw waves or basically resetting the function. So basically it's going up and then it's dropping back down to 0. So I'm guessing it might be useful for a like a square 2 maybe? I don't know. And then basically the ceiling is sort of the opposite. Okay, for the ceiling, this is like steps. So just as the value goes up, it creates steps. Or as the value goes down, it goes down steps. So for the min value, in a formula, it may make a lot more sense. Just basically the value. Same with the max. So these are setting the minimum value that it's going to be at, and then for the max, it sets the maximum value it's going to be at. So as this goes up, in a formula, it will make more sense because it's like their limits. But as a single value, it's going to be the minimum is the maximum is the minimum. But if you want like a constraint, okay, so now you see how that value is going down. So that's the max. B is max. And A is min. See how that the bottom sort of goes up at that point? Okay, the square root, again, this is gonna be pretty, like, transformative. So for power, again, this is like logarithmic. Actually, it's exponential rather. So it's exponential curves. So watch, see how fast that drops off? That's affecting SongTime, I believe. So sine, smooth LFO, cosine, phase shifted LFO, absolute value, pulsating or unipolar. The floor is used to like make like saw waves or steps and reset the phase. Ceiling is a hard threshold. The minimum is setting the minimum value. The maximum is setting the maximum value. So they're high clamps and low clamps. The square root, I would say it's not really a gentle curve in as much as it's it can create a I'm not sure the term to use, but I'm not sure if round it might be a better word. And then for the power is an exponential increase, so it will be very sharp like that ramp there, or that step there that shows up. And then comparisons are more complex using the operators, like greater than, less than, and stuff, which is beyond what I'll be explaining today, because the chances of errors are pretty high. Yeah, okay, so that's a quick introduction to some of the functions and operators. And the only constant is pi. Okay, so you're not allowed to use ternary operators, such as question mark, or I think it's technically like ratio, so they're comparators. So if else, loops, and the modulu, which I think is basically the remainder of a divisor. So they're basic math operators. So how do you use the conditionals? So the conditionals, you have 1 for true, 0 for false, and then you have comparisons for greater than, less than, greater than, equal to, less than, equal to, is exactly, and equal to. So these are the math signs that are used for that. So equal is like equal, and not equal to is like the exclamation mark with equal, if I remember correctly. And then you have you can use like certain structures. So okay, so I don't know how to explain that. So you can use like since there's a maximum minimum of there's a maximum of 1.